welcome. This is Alethe Denis. She is a black badge winner at the SCCTF. She's also the founder of Dragonfly, and she's got an awesome talk for you. Please give her your respect and a round of applause.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your happy hour to come join me to talk a little bit about pretexting. We're going to jump right in because I think that this day has been long enough for everyone, and I want to give you the most bang for your buck. So this is me. My name's Alethe, and I'm kind of breaking the format of the show by telling you who A is from the start, but today we're going to be talking about developing pretexts using intelligence that we gather from open source sources on the interwebs, and using that data to build a pretext that is custom to your target quickly. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at the anatomy of a pretext. Then we're also going to look at pretext points of failure, and OSINT and SOCMINT, social media intelligence gathering for pretexts. And then finally, we're going to build a pretext using the information that we found. So what this talk is not, really quick, it has been modified from its original version and formatted to run in the allocated time. So I am going to speed through some stuff just so that we can reach the end of the talk without eliminating the meat of this talk. So the views and opinions that I express today do not reflect that of my employers, past, present, or future. This is not also a deep or extensive dive into OSINT or building rapport, and of course this is not for malicious use and or legal advice. So what is a pretext? A pretext is something that you are, something that you do, something you have, and then something that you need. The pretext is really built from what you need and a combination of what you have. And that's what we discovered during the OSINT part, is what you can have to substantiate the pretext that you need in order to gain access to the information that you want. So how do pretexts fail? Honestly, the number one thing I think is confidence. If you don't have confidence and you are not prepared to overcome objections of your target, or if you sound a little bit anxious and you're trying to carry an authority pretext, you're going to give your target the opportunity to give you objections and to question the validity of your pretext. So secondly, after confidence would really be simplicity. The more things that you throw at your target to try to substantiate your pretext, the more information they're going to have to work through in their brain, and you may actually limit your ability to elicit the types of information that you want to get from them. So keep it simple and lead them to give you the information that you want with a pretty direct line of thought, rather than overwhelming them with facts about who you are, why you're calling, that kind of stuff. And then to go along with your simplicity and your confidence, you really need to have the knowledge to back up what you're saying. And that is really where the OSINT comes in, and learning about your target's organization's culture and what makes them tick, their biases, how they feel about life in general. All those things are going to help you to become a member of their tribe and then have the knowledge to overcome the objections that they may or may not give you. If you do a really good job, they're probably not going to challenge you. When I start OSINT for a specific organization, the first place that I go is Glassdoor. And then from there, I'll go into the brand profiles for LinkedIn. And from there, I would move into who are their employees and start thoroughly investigating the employee profiles and stuff that's specific to the individuals that work at the company. From there, you can use things like Google Docs and OSINT tools, other websites, to kind of fill in the gaps in what you're trying to prepare to elicit from the target. These are some sites that I recommend checking out. Just keep in mind that Glassdoor is not the be-all, end-all. If you can't find it on Glassdoor, maybe it's on Indeed. Also, companies don't always take ownerships of the profiles on the lesser sites, so they're not monitoring them. And there may be some really inflammatory comments or reviews, some really scary stuff out there as far as the C-suite would be concerned in that company on some of the lesser known corporate review websites. Speaking of corporate review websites, you always want to dig into the photos, not necessarily dude sitting there in his costume, but what's behind him? What is around him? What else is in this photo that's going to help us pretend, if we're using an internal pretext, that we've been in that office before, that we know where to go get a cup of coffee or a bottle of water. And from here, we can see actually physical access controls, we can see their break room, the types of hardware that they're using. And in that one photo, we have the employee's badge, business cards, letterhead, their computer, open applications, all from one photo. Don't forget video. My last year's target for SECTF uploaded a video 3 days before my report was due, and that video included all these wonderful images, along with a bunch more, that really gave me the foundation and the proof for things that I had already suspected, but now were in plain sight. Companies are really going out of their way to try to create a positive perception of their brand for new and prospective talent, people that they want to hire that are applying for jobs. So they're really going out of their way right now to have a positive presence on social media, and that's really good for us. So from this certain target, they had a corporate video like the ones I was discussing where they named their employees and gave their job titles. And from that, I was able to dig into their employees' social media, their personal social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Geotagged Instagram pictures, by the way, are my most favorite thing in the universe. And these people that overshare on social media can actually be a detriment to the rest of their team too, because you have coworkers who are commenting on their posts who don't necessarily share things on social media, but now you've identified them as an employee and you can actually check out their feeds as well and kind of link those things together. When you do that, you have the ability to find their side hustles, side hustle pages and groups, hobbies, all of the comments on their default pictures, cover pictures, all those things are public. And most people don't really keep that in mind, even if their Facebook is locked down pretty well. Check out their likes, their reviews of local businesses, and try to get a flavor of their personality and who you think might be a soft target. With this particular individual, I identified that the company had a corporate giving manager. This person was really prolific on social media with sharing their causes, thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and I learned that she was a parent, that she had several social media profiles, as well as a creative writing career as a consultant. I also found that the company had published their press releases giving the numbers for their giving campaigns for the last few years, and I was going to take this information and use that to substantiate the fact that I was potentially with the charity. Did I know what the numbers were for the year before? Did I have a good understanding of their participation in that campaign? So what do the facts do that we found? They really substantiate and give your pretext credibility. The facts are what builds the story. Essentially, we're creating the story from the information we have rather than trying to pick a pretext and then support that pretext using information we may or may not be able to find. Yes, it's a Foursquare. If you've ever worked in sales, especially automotive sales, you're probably shuddering. But this is great because it's really an easy way to keep track of the information that you need to have handy when you're either putting together your pretext or actually executing your phishing calls or setting up your phishing campaigns. So who are they? What do you need? And then from there, what information do you have and what pretext can you build to become who you have to be today? Here's a sample pretext format. We're going to start by deciding the basics. Are you internal? Are you external? Are you authority-based pretexting, or is it going to be an empathetic pretext? Align your biases with the person that you've decided is your target and figure out how you can emulate their culture. And I'm not just speaking about, ethnic culture, but just the culture of their them as an employee and how they conduct themselves. Make sure you have the jargon and the keywords that are used within this corporate environment, and then pick your pretext theme. So first, we're going to take notes of what information we want to elicit from this target. We're thinking really hard. And then we're going to put in who we've decided is our target, put their name, their number, all their contact information. This is going to help you have it handy when you're talking to them so you can stay on track and not fumble anything. Then you need to figure out who you are. If you're somebody from a vendor and maybe you're not going to pretext to somebody internal, make sure that you have your name, done your OSINT on the second company, figured out what numbers you need to spoof, what your title is, who you are, and what gives you a reason to ask for the information that you're going to try to elicit. Finally, figure out what your motivations are. Who are you as a person? What are your biases? What's your culture? And how is that going to make you part of the tribe of the person that you're trying to elicit the information from? So using what you have, you're going to have the goal in mind that you want to build rapport quickly, link ideas together from one item to the next as far as the elements that you're trying to elicit. Memorize your flags, so to speak, the information that you want. Try to fit them into a natural conversation and be prepared to segue or come back to a point if your conversation goes off track. Try not to script yourself too much. And then always be prepared to pivot. If it turns out that this target is a lot softer than maybe you expected and you have the ability to elicit more information than what you came for, pivot into another line of conversation and see if you can extract that as well. So we're using the data to create a custom pretext and not picking a pretext based on the data. Now you've got your full pretext on this little Foursquare, and this is actually what I took with me into the booth at DEF CON for the SECTF. That's the only page that I had. I didn't bring a computer or any gimmicks or props or anything. It was just these. And they really helped me to figure out how I was going to approach the conversation. And then if I got sidetracked or nervous or intimidated, I could always bring it back using just a quick reminder from these pages. With this particular employee, I figured out some of the things that we'd mentioned before, so I'm going to click through these really quick. But I called and I said that I'd sent her a PDF the week before and had she received my email. Of course, I hadn't sent her an email, so no, she didn't get it. And at this point, she's feeling emotionally like she's let me down. So this is going to give me a really good foundation for using an empathy pretext because she already feels indebted to me. So I confirmed using an erroneous email that I had sent it to the wrong place. And so she gave me her correct email and then committed to follow up and complete the PDF form and absolutely open it when she received it. So I have her buy-in to do that, which is fantastic. She also shared some other information with me, and I was able to elicit, elements of software, hardware, and other things about her business. From that point, she did begin to kind of question why I needed all of this information, and she started to get suspicious because I asked for the same thing twice. And I immediately apologized and just, said, I'm so flustered, I'm so sorry. I'm working from home today remotely with a sick kid. And immediately, because she was a parent, she dropped all of her suspicion. So that's how to build a pretext using the information that you find through OSINT and using open sources to create custom pretexts in order to really elicit the information that you want using things that are going to make your targets want to tell you. I am so happy that you all came today, and I appreciate you for your time. And also a big thank you to BSides San Francisco for inviting me to speak to you today. If there's any questions or anything that you would like, I'm going to open the floor right now for questions.
I can run the mic up to anybody.
Well, first off, congratulations on, wow, this is really loud. Congratulations on the Black Badge success winning SECTF.
Thank you.
Putting on more of a defensive hat, I've heard a lot of reports about social media platforms cracking down on fabricated accounts and also trying to protect users' privacy more. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a step in the right direction for protecting employees, or is it more just going to shift the field for the offensive side?
Well, I will tell you that all of my sock puppets are alive and well. And I would say that even though there are a lot of measures being taken to do that, that it's absolutely essential that we teach our people how to identify these types of threats and really lean into training and awareness to avoid these things rather than counting on third parties to eliminate fake accounts or try to stop those kind of things from happening on platforms.
Good answer. Thank you.
There is one thing I did forget to mention in my talk, and that is that we want to avoid having people get that little gut feeling that something's wrong. And it's kind of like when you're driving in a car, you have people following you, but it seems like you only notice the car behind you when it's already too close. And that's because your subconscious is continually scanning your environment, but it only alerts your conscious to ask for help when somebody has breached that bubble of security. And so what we're doing with the pretexting is we're actually trying to get as close to that person's rear end without having the subconscious alert them that something might be wrong. And that's why these custom pretexts are really important.
My question is more of like a story question.
Okay.
What is one of the most creative or interesting pretexts that you've used successfully?
I would say that probably this charitable giving one, and then I had another one where I discovered that the Target had a cafeteria. I posed as an employee of the cafeteria vendor, the food service vendor, and I said that I was coming on site to train the employees of the cafeteria for security awareness training, and that I had some questions about how I was going to get on site. Did they have badges? Who's my point of contact? Is IT on site so that they can set up my projector for me and all those kind of things. And that was probably one of the most fun. The pretext that I used for SECTF this last year was just hey, we noticed you hadn't connected to the VPN in a while, and we're getting ready to ship out new computers. We wanted to make sure that we've got all the right software on the computer for you before we ship it out. And so it wasn't like super interesting or fun, but just very effective.
Sit down. Could you help me pass this down?
So how might you translate this into like a phishing training sort of exercise if we want to send just emails versus the very
For email
personalized?
phish?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you find that your target is really into model trains, or they're an avid fisher person, or they like to hike, or play video games, all those kind of things you can use to put together a profile of that person to create a phishing campaign, spear phishing campaign, that would definitely get a result. I've heard of companies that have been compromised by a single email for a coin collecting scam, basically.
Yes.
About how much time do you say you put into prepping for any particular one of your pretexts? Do you have a sense? Is it like an hour? Is it 20 hours? What's
The goal really with the way that I've set it up and outlined it here is that you can do it really quickly. It shouldn't take you more than a few hours. Preparing for SECTF, I spent over 100 hours compiling all the information into the report that I submitted for the contest, but realistically, in a real-life phishing scenario, you don't have that kind of time. You've got maybe hours. And so if you can dig into the brand's presence online and then kind of get a feel for what their employees are like or how they feel about the company, within about an hour or two, you should have a feel for things that you can use to elicit empathy or to become part of the tribe of that company's employees. Like, oh man, the break room is crap. And those kind of comments are gonna help you kind of empathize with them. So yeah, I mean, within a couple of hours, you should really be able to build something that will float. Yes. I'll repeat the question.
Okay. Do you have any good free resources for helping train employees to recognize these sorts of attacks?
Do I have any good free resources to help employees recognize these types of attacks? There is a ton of free information on the interwebs. I would say the first thing that comes to my mind for a company that shares information for free would be probably KnowBe4, but then of course Social Dash Engineer, Chris Hadnagy's shop, they do share a lot about recognizing these kind of threats and attacks online for free. YouTube, like Google social engineering, and there's a ton of resources. When I started actually attempting to compete in SECTF a couple years back, I really struggled to find information on how to build a pretext, and I was like, how the heck am I going to do this? I don't know who I'm supposed to be or how I'm supposed to be that person. And that's really the reason why I put this talk together, to help people that do assessments, but also that can be really translated into training employees how to protect themselves. Like, stop commenting with private information on your default and your cover pictures. Stop letting your images on Instagram be geolocated to your company. You're just making it too easy for people to find out these kind of things about you and about where you work. Of course.
Is that it for questions? Looks like it. Okay. Thank you so much, Alethe.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
We have a gift for you.